Before we hop into the normal day trading recap, I just want to briefly warn you guys about a mindset that I personally have experienced that is making me perform a little bit worse throughout this month. Now, initially throughout March, I was doing really well until I hit March 19th, where I had my biggest loss yet, which I discussed in my previous video. I ended up losing $681, and it affected my confidence a lot. And then that kind of carried on into the next week where I lost $280 on the 22nd, and then really didn't make all that much for the remainder of the week. And since that large loss, I have managed to pull out green in the last 2 weeks, but I'm making very small profits when you compare to what I was making in the beginning of March. So the mindset specifically that I'd like to warn about is the competitive mindset. I'm a very competitive person, and I often like to compare my results to other people and try to outperform others. And while on one hand, this can be very good for pushing you to do further or like go further than what you might have otherwise, it can also be really negative because even when you're doing well, you might feel like you're failing. And that's exactly what was happening with me. Even though all things considered, March was a pretty good month, after this loss, I saw my P&L go from being up $4,200. I was up $4,200 on the 18th to being up $3,200 on the 22nd. And that's still pretty good. But I had felt like I was failing because I saw other people on these same 2 days either like making small amounts of money or actually still making decent amounts of money. And it's just very bad whenever you're evaluating your performance on whether or not you're succeeding or not by how other people do. I do think it's good to be able to compare yourself to others and see how you're performing, but I don't think that you want to use your competitiveness with others as your metric for success. Alright, so the first trade we're going to be taking a look at is on FEDU, and this has a really strong break over the previous high of day. We can see on the 5-minute chart, right out of open, FEDU pushed up to 210, and it had a really strong rejection, pulls all the way back, and now on the 1-minute chart, we've had a steady incline all the way back up to 210. And right here, it kind of consolidates at that breakout level against the 9 EMA, and then we get a really strong breakout on very high volume, all the way up to 250, which is a psychological level of resistance. And if we look at the clock in the top left, we have 15 seconds to the candle close. And one thing that you'll have noticed time and time again through watching my content is that after a really strong breakout, when a candle is about to close on the 1 minute, the next candle to open is almost always going to be red. And I'm going to assume that on this trade, I'm going to end up buying that red pullback because it's so strong, and then I will be waiting for it to return back up to the highs, or maybe even taking just a small little bounce. I don't know how long I'll end up holding it, but this is 100% the trade idea that I'm going to be taking. So we're going to play this out, and we will see how exactly I traded this and what I could have done differently. So it's kind of just lingering around this 250, waiting for that next candle to open, which is what we'd like to see, it to respect the 250. And look, so right there, I actually just charted a level of support at 225. So maybe I would even be looking for this to pull back all the way down to 225 for an entry. But it's seeming like right now it's a little strong, like it's not going to go that low. And right there, we decided to get in at 238, and we're just holding right here, waiting for it to bounce. It's not bouncing as quick as I would have liked, so my guess I'm starting to feel uncomfortable in the trade even though I'm on such small size. I'm just imagining that I'm probably not happy with it not immediately going back up. So I take out 100 right there at 1 cent profit, take out another 100 right there, and now I'm holding 100 shares, so there's no reason to feel nervous. And we're all out there for a $12 gain. Overall, I think that this is a good entry, but it was a really bad execution. The entrance was fine, even though it did go a little bit lower. It was lingering around 240, and we didn't want to miss the move. So getting in right there, especially on small size, isn't really a big deal. But I do wish that I would have held longer because I do think that this will continue pushing higher, and we're going to miss that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play it out and see if it would have pushed higher like I'm expecting, or if it continues to go down, then I had made the right read in the moment. I'm going to fast forward. Oh wait, maybe I don't need to fast forward. So you can already see it's already way back up above 250, and I obviously made the wrong call here. In the moment, I made the wrong call. I made the right call like watching it back, but when I was in the trade, I was not making the right decision. So if we look at this too, we sold 100 at 238, 239. We sold 100 a little above 240, and then another 100 at like mid 240s, and we made $12 on that. If instead we had just stuck to the plan, which is for it to return to the highs, we were in at 238 at 100 shares, and we could have sold, let's just say, at 250. That would have been a 12-cent gain on 300 shares, which would have been $36. So we definitely did not play this trade right at all, and this was definitely a mistake. So I'm asked, why did I not use a trailing stop of 1 cent or so? A trailing stop of 1 cent would get stopped out immediately. And trailing stops on Thinkorswim, I'm not actually sure how to do. But if I had a trailing stop on that trade, it would have got it stopped out immediately, and it's too slow to implement as well. I just in general think that how I'm executing the trades is completely fine. It's just my decision making in this trade was not good. I was, for whatever reason, I don't know why I was uncomfortable on 300 shares. Maybe it's because I've been performing not amazing in the last week, and I've been on tilt, but like, I was down like $10 at the max in this position. We bought in. It lingers around our entry a little bit. We're down at max like $8. This should have been a trade I should have just been comfortable sitting in, because it's very likely, very, very, very likely that this is going to be a profitable trade, and it could have been a very profitable trade instead of just being a $12 gain. Yeah, we took 100 out there at 239, 100 out at 245, and the last 100 out at 245. Not a good trade. We definitely want to see that wait, and we definitely want to wait and see it come up to 250 or higher. Anyways, we'll move on to the next one. It's also on FEDU, and it's at 919. Alright, so we're looking at Theta here, and what would we be looking for? So if we look at the 5 minute, it looks like this is after it came up, and we bought like the pullback right here on this candle right here. It went back up, came up to 260, a little bit higher, and we had a really, really, really strong rejection. And right now it's kind of been sliding down. It hasn't really had any large bounces or recoveries. It's just still constantly sliding down. And what I would be interested to seeing here is, instead of it continuing to just slide down, I would like to see one candle that is actually a little bit stronger and pushes down into the VWAP roughly. So what I would be looking for here is a bungee pullback opportunity off of VWAP, and this would be a trade where I could probably end up holding, but my guess is I probably don't end up holding, unfortunately. We'll see what happens. I think that this will flush to around 207. I'll buy in and likely sell very quickly, even though it would have been better to probably hold on this one. It's starting to look a little bit weak, like we might get that flush. We needed to get below the low of the previous green candle, and it's pushing down there right now. If it breaks below, we should get that flush to 209, 207, like around this range right here from 210 to 207. We're testing that 210, we got below. 208, 209, we're in there at 209 with 500 shares. And we took all out there at 211, so that looks to be like a, that was a $10.50 gain. Now here's the thing. I think that this is going to hold VWAP and actually bounce off of it. If it holds VWAP and bounces off of it, then again, this is another mistake. And I think it's pretty obvious in this instance that it will bounce off of VWAP. So it's not like I was kind of like speculating on this right now. I just think it's pretty likely that it will happen, and missing that in the moment is just a mistake. It doesn't matter if I make money on the trade, because I feel like I could have done a lot better. And we're already seeing it above where I ended up exiting at 211, so we easily could have got more. And I think that this will likely go all the way back up to 220 or higher. So let's see, let's fast forward. Yeah, there we go. That's 219 on the ask. And I could have already gotten out there for an additional 8-cent gain, which even though I'm only trading 500 shares, which is very, very small size, that's an additional $40. $40 that I could have made if I had traded a little bit more efficiently. So I have to always keep that in mind going into the next week, because today is Sunday. I know I'm uploading this on Thursday, but going into the next week, I need to remember and keep this in mind, that I can execute trades more efficiently to make more money than what I'm doing presently. And that's why I encourage everyone, whether on YouTube or Twitch, to actually record their own trades and review it, because you'll constantly notice that you'll be doing things that are actively making you less money. And if you watch it and see it often enough and constantly think about it while you're live trading, you will start to correct these mistakes. The next trade we're going to take a look at is the next one we took on, FEDU at 940. And here we are on FEDU. So it looks like this might be doing a flush down to 225 areas. 225s, maybe even down to 220s potentially. And I guess I'll end up buying this and not hit the bottom, so it will keep flushing below. I mean, that's really kind of the only thing that happens when you lose on these bungees, is if it keeps going lower, right? So it's not too hard to guess what's going to happen. When it looks like it's a bungee and I know I lost on the trade, that just means it continued to go below my entry. So here it is at 233. If it breaks below, we'll certainly see 225. And it breaks below. We're in there. Oh, we don't get filled, so we go to the ask. So we ended up buying early there. It definitely did flush below all the way down. So whenever I gave the read beforehand, watching after the fact, I said that this is going to flush down to 225 or potentially even 221, which was the 90 MA on the 5 minute before. Pretty much what this trade is just being impatient. I got in like really, really early for no reason. I saw the 226, I didn't get filled. And because I didn't get filled at 226, I was worried about missing the move. And I decided to buy on the ask, when the correct decision here was, when I didn't get the fill, to instead be patient and see if it gives me a lower price, or just miss out on the trade altogether. If 226 really was the bottom and it continued to move up and gave no lower opportunity, then at that moment I just have to accept that I didn't get filled on this opportunity and wait for the next one. This was just impatience and me trying to force trades, is what I would say. Do I ever think about adding time and sells to help see the momentum to determine your holds? I don't think I need the time and sales. I do fine with the level 2. And also, I don't really know where I would fit it on my setup as well. I've seen with big sell-offs that there's also a tendency to see bigger bounces, something to consider when setting profit targets. Yeah, absolutely. The harder it falls, the harder it bounces, for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The next trade we're going to do is again on FEDU at 1002. So at this point, FEDU has been continuing to go down ever since that pullback that we bought at the very beginning of the day. And at this point, the stock is very weak. The volume is starting to die out really, really hard. And overall, the stock isn't super great. But even so, I'm still taking trades on it because I'm desperate to make money. So what we're going to be looking for here is just a flush. And the most likely level based off of my charting is around 180. So we will click play and see if it flushes to my support. So it's starting to flush a little bit, very slowly though, which you don't like to see. Generally, we like fast flushes, but whenever the market's slow, you have to make do with what you've got. So I probably end up trading this even though it's not the ideal trade. So we try an entry here. Looks like it's not getting filled, so I'm probably going to cancel. Yeah, we just have an order hanging here, and it keeps on touching it, but we're not getting our fill. Still not getting filled. We have that order hanging, but we decided to cancel it there because it started to look like it might break 82. I guess it looked like it's strong again, so I got back on. And then it looks weak, so I stopped. So it was like a little dance right there where I kept on thinking it looked like it was going to bounce, then I thought it wasn't. So I kept on putting it on and canceling. But my final conclusion was that it was going to go lower. So I decided to cancel the order and look for a lower price. And there it goes to 180, which we have support drawn there. We're in 1,000 shares at 180, and we're all out there at 820 for a $20 gain. It's not really a whole lot to be said on that trade. It's a pretty slow stock, not a whole lot going on. So it's all I would say about that is if you're new to trading pullbacks, try to avoid the things that are slowly sliding or grinding down, because those are more difficult generally to hit the bottom than something that is more quick and hard and fast. Because whenever something just flushes down really, really hard, it's a lot easier to hit that bottom because how much room does it have to go lower? Although that is a scary mentality, because you should always like be thinking, can this go lower? But it's a lot harder whenever something's sliding because there's a lot more opportunity to be wrong. But yeah, this kind of shows the month and the week. We had that hot streak. We had that really bad day on Friday caused by hyper competitiveness and FOMO. That same mentality over the weekend, because even when I did the recap last Sunday, I was extremely unhappy. It persisted into Monday with a couple big losses, like mainly this 271 loss. We started to work on recovery, and then finally we reached the finish, and we got all better. Now, before we wrap up the stream though, because I have homework to do, guys, so I'm gonna have to get off a little early. I said I was gonna keep the stream at about an hour. We've been going for 52 minutes, which means I have 8 minutes left. One thing I wanted to do, because someone asked what was my gains on the week, let's take a look at this. So this is an Excel sheet that I share with a friend. My column is on the left, his column is on the right. So this is how we've been doing for the month. The first week of the month, I made $1,074. The second week of the month, I made $2,046. The third week of the month, I made $3,078. And finally, last week, I only made a measly $62. So fortunately, even when I'm doing, when I'm at my worst, I'm at least able to make money. But it's still pretty rough. Although take notice of this. If we withdraw this, if we take that out, look at that. I was up. This month had been so good. I was up $1,059 on the third week as well. So I was pacing myself to have my best month ever. And then I just ruined it by adding in a casual $700 loss. But that's how we're doing. I'll see you guys all next week. I stream every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this video on YouTube, what you need to do is scroll down and like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you ever have any questions, guys, post it in the Discord. I'm there. That's the easiest way to reach me, is in the Discord. So you could always just go over there and at me with anything, and I'll pretty much always reply within a couple hours. Bye, guys.